Start again.
Well, the real problem, how do I get to that? Right. So and actually, Harmony is a great time to experience with finding people, chatting to them. And actually, in Harmony 2020, the last one we had in person, that's when I finally got the things to work, so that setup.py would actually invoke the CMake build system, build all the dependencies with the flags for the Python distribution of your choice, and get the library built as well. And just a couple of months later was the first time we got the HTML onto Content Watch as well. And using the same approach, which is nice because the only binaries we were not building at all is OSX bindings. O2 bindings, and those are not available as well. So we finally we can pip install everything from SPML, ZML, NUML combined, and Comparty is working as well, just like that. So it's working on all platforms, easily usable. You can use it in the cloud with Colab and Binder, and it's very nice to use. Or it would be if there was actually documentation. Like early on, we found that out in Comparty. We frequently have ensembles of models and simulate them on the cluster, and people were then trying to integrate the best models, and they wanted to use scripting for that. And with Comparty, which has been in development for quite a couple of years, it's sort of, yes, the functions are all there, but you have to invoke them in the right order. You have to figure out when to compile the model and things like that. And documenting all that would be like a huge undertaking. So instead, it was usually me that one was helping out the students, or whenever somebody had a lab or did a new sample, and upload that with Python. But I wanted a system that was very easy to document. And Jürgen Pahle's group came up with kwarg, which is Comparty for the R environment. And they had some documentation for that. And I thought, like, well, that's nice, but R is not a language I'm comfortable explaining to people. So instead, that's when I started with kwarg.
I think kwarg was the last tool to come to Python.
No. We have been there before.
Most of us
Python
have had Python interfaces for a long time.
But we had the Python Comparty bindings were there with Swig since the beginning. It was just
beginning meaning
hard to use. Well, I was definitely there when I joined the lab in 2012.
There's several packages that use them, in fact.
Yeah,
I mean, we created a Python interface.
right. I mean, Kieran was
The higher level one.
Because it was unusable.
Well, many packages actually use it that have been published throughout the years.
So we created an extra layer on top.
Yeah.
I mean, Kieran, for example, was manually editing the Comparty XML for his Python tools, and other languages like that work as well. And in fact, some members of the Comparty teams back in Manchester did that same approach. It's just manipulating the XML is quite error prone, and there's something to be said to be using the API. So that was just show that. Can I see the icon? And so it becomes very easy to install, doing the normal pip install thing. And at the beginning, I thought we just use it as a basic tool for running simulations, and that's how I got started. Like, grab a model from the biomodels database, simulate it, have it easily plotted, and provide access to all of the elements from Comparty. And then I was hoping that some students would go ahead and figure out and add new things to that. And what ended up happening is that I got requests and did it one after the other. So the next thing then to add was creating simple models, adding reactions, adding species, removing things. And it continued like that, exposing then all of the analysis methods that we had in Topaz as well, parameter fittings, scans, making it simple to perform sensitivity analysis, access to all of the results that were computed. Later on, even editing things that I thought was not needed, like editing plots and reports that would be generated by the Copasi command line version came as well. Up to working with the PTAB community, implementing their interfaces so that Copasi could be very easily used as a PTAB simulator and can also be used in their environments to perform parameter estimation, fitting, and now even the model selection that I presented today. And so the last thing that I added to Copasi recently was our approaches to likelihood, where basically once you have found the best fit, you want to see whether the parameters that you have are identifiable. And what this is actually doing is generating a bunch of Copasi models, simulates them all in parallel, and then even generates the plots and contours to let us show how good those fits are.
Yeah,
Okay?
not all the plugs are actually powered.
Yeah.
So you might have to find one that has actual power coming from it.
There's one here. This one.
Yeah, last night.
No, we were. This is one floor down.
This one more. Should those pins come out? That's safe. Right.
So where does this take us?
This takes us just a brief overview of what I've been up to, and yeah. So basically, solves the problem of being fully documented. We have automated tests for everything in there as well. It's demand driven and it easily grows to new functionality.
Okay.
And we can easily create new versions because we don't have to necessarily compile all of Copasi every time to make more changes.
So Basico is a pure Python script that uses Python Copasi in the background then, basically? Okay. So in a sense, it's sort of like our Tellurium, which is again is also the pure Python version of everything, and then uses the scripts of things in the background. Yeah.
Okay.
Was it named because of basic Copasi or okay?
It's very hard to find acronyms. So yeah. And we didn't just want to do like the kwarg thing, you know, the ASIA connector.
Oh yeah.
We're sticking the Python in there. Anyway, so I'll let you share some of yours.
I mean, what's the purpose of this gathering, I guess?
Well,
it's one question I have to ask. I mean, I'm thinking, this is something I brought up a few years ago, that we're having such a range of Python APIs now. We're sort of going back to 1999, where everything is incompatible.
is it?
Yeah, so because every APIs, we have what, 7 Python tools?
Yeah, but they all speak the combined standards.
No, but all different APIs. So if you want to, people can't share, I guess they can't share scripts because the tool may no longer exist. So we really would like to have, I'd like to see a community agreed API that people can write to.
Like, for example, in the PTAB community, we have this PTAB simulator API.
Yeah, so it
all
goes
of the
beyond
PTAB
the
tools
lifetime
can-
of the application. That will survive beyond the lifetime of the application.
So basically you import something else, like if
Yeah.
your old script, or if you just want to try something new, you say import.
I mean,
Like
the new
PTAB,
API would just map to the
yeah.
application's own API.
Yeah.
It'd be a very thin layer between two.
You want an API essentially,
Yeah, that's right.
That's-
That's
yes.
what I just said, yeah.
portable API. So I guess that's what ZML was supposed to be, except that it's a markup language, which is not declarative.
No, I was just thinking like, how do you load a model? Right, 7 applications do that in 7 different ways. How to simulate a model, another 7 different ways.
Well, there's different ways to simulate a model as well, by the way.
Yeah, I'm just talking about the API. So if one tool dies and there are all these models that use these scripts, you won't be able to use them again. So we're back. That's what I'm saying. We're
That's
back
why
to
I'm standard
1999.
Backing.
Huh?
That's what- and
I don't think it's that bad. I mean, you actually have SBML, which I think doesn't put you back to 1999. As long as a model is encoded in SBML, there's always a tool that can load the model. Now, you're right in terms of the specifications of the simulation.
Yeah. I mean, I
But-
suppose it goes back to ZML then, I suppose, because
Right.
ZML do tend to get, at least in where I've seen, they get converted on the scripting level, they get converted to scripts that can be run. You can't actually run ZML. And you could retarget, various scripting languages on Julia, Python, whatever, right? But there's no community approved API calling the various functions in ZML. Like I want to do a time course, I want to do a steady state. It means you have to write targeted targeters for every different API.
Which is basically what
consensus.
That's what biosimulations is doing with all.
I was going to say that.
Wrapping, yeah.
Yeah.
Biosimulations.
You have biosimulations are doing that job.
Yeah, but it's not public though. We need a public specification for an
it's
API
very
that people
coarse.
can
It
write
says
to.
just take this ZML and produce HDF5. That's the biosimulation.
Yeah, that's
API.
not going to fly at all. So I assume that's what partly what this meeting was about. Was try to come up with a common API that we could all write to.
So the biosimulation Python tool stuff does give you that. We say, give me a basic thing that's going to execute ZML, and then you just go through and fill in your.
Yeah, I need to have a look at that.
specifics.
I need to see that how it's got to be easy to use for modelers, right? We're talking about modelers here, not computer scientists. And one thing,
No, well, so it's not easy for a modeler to do, but it's easy
Ah.
for someone who's got a Python simulator to go in and put their hooks in, so that then the modeler just says run.
and they can be run on a
Right.
desktop.
Yeah.
Well, we should look at that then, I guess. See what it's like.
I mean, it doesn't get around the modeler needs to create ZML to run.
Right.
Relies on ZML, does it?
Yeah, so
Oh,
it's like,
okay.
it basically executes it.
Yeah. So I go back again to what's the objective of this.
That's that camera,
The
or this one, I
objective
guess.
See what tools have been created in the past and might not get enough, and to find the common ground of mistakes that happened over the year, but what has become easier,
Okay.
how to resolve individual problems.
Oh, it's a
and learn from each other.
Oh, I
Okay.
could put it back in the office.
So,
The
That's why pretty short what we
Yeah.
done with that.
mail.
I mean, I think we do something very similar to what you do.
I think they're going to need it at
I mean, we use all the same
11
tooling and we possibly
for the
exchange ideas
departmental
anyway.
seminar. That was one. of the meetings.
I mean,
So yeah.
Kieran rebuilt the build system for Roadrunner. She probably understands that much.
At least a little bit, yeah.
Which has simplified things a lot. It's quite complicated. I can actually build it now. But overall, we use probably the same techniques that we use, I think. Now, for other developers around you can.
So
what you do.
specifically, we don't use the GitHub Actions because Kieran set it up on Azure instead, but it's the free version of Azure. And I think some of that is driven by GitHub Actions in the background anyway. or at least some of the machines are there. So yeah, but yeah, we have all our library, all our C++ dependencies in one package or in one repository that just GitHub links to the different things at particular versions. And you can build those and make some artifacts. Those actually make the libraries on the, like the actual library files on each platform, debug, release if we need those. And then the Roadrunner build system then just pulls the last release from the libroadrunner deps repository.
Did you by now stop having your own libraries for everything like SML and ZML?
Yes, we did. we ditched that again. So, because yeah, we used to have our own like Python versions of everything, and I don't know why, but there was some reason at the time, and we ditched that. So, and then so Roadrunner is the first level at which we go to Python, and we do that with Swig. And so, as far as I understood, at least, you have to like do a different Swig build for each version of Python. So we have a 3.7 and a 3.8 and a 3.9, a 3.10, or actually we dropped 3.7 at this point, but 3.10 and 3.11.
I mean, the Swig generated stuff is only different Python 2. So one set of source, in one different set of source vectors for Python 2, and one for Python 3. But then they can be compiled for all of the Python 3 versions.
I should see if that actually turns out to be true, because like if I just rename the wheel and try it on a different system, I could see if it works. My impression was that it didn't actually work.
Well,
What's that?
Only the specific version of the Python DLL.
Only if you link against it. I mean, that is only in,
But I think we are linking against it. I mean, that's the whole.
like on.
That's what
on
Swig
Linux
does,
and
right?
Mac, you actually not against the Python library at all. You have it discovered at runtime.
But if the symbols are changed,
Which they can between.
they can, but they don't. We don't use them.
And the same on Windows. There's one Python 3 DLL that you link against, but there's like a 3-point minor version, and that one you cannot link against because otherwise the div becomes dependent on.
So it's just a matter of what we say we should link against, because there's an actual different library with.
Yes,
That's the Python 3 DLL.
Everything that uses Swig is just using the main 3 library.
Okay.
And there's no reason to.
Okay.
Against Python 3.7.
All right. So yeah. So we might be able to. That would be nice because we have a lot of builds, because we always build for 3.8, 3.9, 3.10, 3.11, and then when new versions come out, I have to find the.
I mean, the
New
reason
things
why
for that.
we did, all of them for all the different Python applications for Linux is basically because of audit wheel, how the Python files are supposed to be named in the end, so that they can be easily installed via pipeline.
Well, the names you can just change it by 3. You don't have to call it by 3.7.
But the names contain information on what they're linked against, like which version of Python implementation. Is it PyPy? Is it CPython? And which version of libc was used, things like that.
Do they not put metadata into those things? Or is it purely on the name?
Well, a lot of it is on the name.
It's analyzing the library and based on that generates the name for it.
But there's no metadata put into the archive that stops you.
I mean,
renaming it.
There is, like, if you just rename it and put it on PyPy will notice some mistakes. Like if you take your Windows wheel and like claim that it's Mac and upload it, it's like, no, that's for Windows. And it'll say like, I can't accept that, I think.
Why would you have tried that?
I mean, I don't know if I actually tried that or not. I probably didn't, but yes. It's like, just,
I know, like Numpy and SciPy do the whole Python 3 didn't they?
yeah. Okay.
I don't know how they managed to get it safe doing it that way. You don't get comfort in the library.
Yeah, I guess, I don't know.
I don't know.
Actually, no.
We use that CI called wheel. So that just does it individually for each one.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean,
And
you
see
have
where
like
it's
all
going.
of the different architectures, right, that you build. It has information on what many Linux instance was used, which Python implementation. So this is for PyPy. And there's the C Python versions. So
Oh, is that what CP means? Is C Python versus
Yeah.
PyPy? Oh.
So we
All
have
right.
we do generate a lot of binaries for everything.
I found
How do you get CI Builder just to build you the one wheel for that platform? Or
so
like all the three wheels?
oh, like build them all? Yeah.
Well, like, I don't need to build them all, I just need to build one.
And then how do you get it to name it
How do I get-
properly?
I have to register it? So, one, at the moment, it's CI Builder.
Is them all, yeah.
But I need one.
Yeah. That's so in
But
general,
it's
we've
not
been
just
using
one, though, right?
like if in setup.py, if you claim it's a binary distribution,
So we do tell that the architecture, the Python versions we want to build against.
Yeah.
How
do you
and-
CI Builder?
And we use for some of it, we use CI Builder. Right. For Mac, we restricted to the Intel and ARM versions of it. But this will generate all of the different Linux versions as well.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that
if you don't want all of them and you just want to.
I don't need to build all 373 million. One of them, I don't think I just.
You just call you name the wheel and that it's for Python 3 and off you
will
go.
not be installed, but it's for
Yeah, it would.
the Python versions.
It
I mean,
would.
it would find the lower version where you distribute those wheels.
If you call so I
So for saying like when you were saying that it links to the main Python library, so it doesn't.
it shouldn't make a difference for which one you use.
I mean,
Yeah.
if the file that you uploaded, right, is called CP311.
No, you call it. You just call it CP3.
CP37 to 311. If you look at
Or-
NumPy, if you look at
Yeah.
NumPy CP right, they're called CP37 3P CP311. Right, they give you a range.
Okay.
So I'm presuming if they go and do what you say, I don't know. I had looked at their builds. I don't understand how they.
So
how they-
the way that it normally works is that after the libraries are built, there's an audit wheel run, and that one would generate the which I'm coming on later.
Yeah, I just use it wheel. I haven't found a way. But
So-
I was trying to figure out how. Something.
So I use C types for antimony because antimony is simpler, and those are my wheel files, right? They just say Py3. Because there's no C types doesn't like is all in just Python, right? So it doesn't it's just going to look up things on the fly. Apparently other things that might also, but so I just call it Py3-none and then Mac OS, Mini Linux, or Windows or whatever.
This is not going to work on the ARM, is it?
On what? Oh yeah. Those are. Oh. Yes, I had to do that separately. Apparently, I forgot to upload it to this part, but it's on PyPy. So I had to, yeah, I had to build it for the ARM separately. But still, it's Py3-none-Mac OS whatever 11.3, I think. Arc 64.
Is it helpful to distribute the fact?
Oh, for us, for Windows, you need to debug binaries if you're going to do anything with them.
Which is where.
Yeah. Mac debug is probably not super helpful, but we have run into bugs that are only on Mac, and then it's helpful to have the debug version because then you run it and actually get some debug information. But yeah, this is antimony as opposed to Roadrunner, which we have like, yeah, 310 for all three things, 311s, 3.8s. Why is not everything here? Anyway, Oh yeah, here we go. Show all 28. There we go. So yeah, there's our 3.10, 3.11, 3.8, 3.9 for everything. And there's our Mac OS for Mac OS for the ARM version. And as far as I knew, you had to make them all, but if you don't, then I would, if there's one that works for everything, then I would change it to just Pi3 - none and just have that one wheel.
Yeah, my understanding is you didn't make it one single.
Okay.
So that's why we actually don't link against the Python
I know
library.
you're linking, but don't link it so we can look at the symbols at runtime to figure out, because you might not be working against the exact same.
But remember,
binary.
this big interface generates the same symbol. For all
But if- So if the swig symbol
But-
thing is supposed to
Yeah,
do
so
that, you should be able to
they
use
don't- they
these
don't-
on anything, right?
I mean, the symbols are going to be whatever is in the switch generated.
That's
Those are
right,
being
but,
needed.
but if the suite generates the in on the version of the Python language you're doing.
But it does only have a switch for Python 2 and Python 3.
Then you shouldn't have to have all those different wheels.
So it's well, like I said, that's why we have this meeting. I mean, I was
Yeah,
sure
that'd be interesting.
that,
Yeah.
you actually can have
I know Sippy and Numpy do it. But how
the range of.
How they actually do it, yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm happy to try that out with an audit field post step.
The first thing I would try is just renaming the wheel. Like, take your thing, I could do it with this, like, take the CP311 - CP311, rename the wheel and try to install it on Python 3.8 and see if it works. If it doesn't, then you're gonna have to do this whole thing again. But
there's two things, right? Yeah, install it.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, you will still have to do it for different Python implementations like Python. I think.
I haven't had any issues with this. Well, I mean, this is C types, but
Okay. Well, it was supposed to be that much faster.
Yeah, I haven't,
Okay.
I haven't done it mainly, because just on the explosion is just huge.
So many
Trying to find ways not to explode.
right. Yeah, move it. I will say, like, Antimony had a simple enough interface that, like, I was able to just write a C types thing. Actually, I auto-generated the C types thing from my API.h file. And since then, I only have 4 wheels
Well,
instead of
if you-
20.
If you only want Python, but if you wanted Java and other.
Right,
big
which I don't,
languages as
so,
well.
right.
Right, because the biUML people implemented.
They wrote the, yeah, no one has asked for Antimony on other things. I mean, I do still have the swig thing in the background, but I haven't used it for a while. Basically, yeah. In my experience so far, people have asked for things for actual C++ and for Python, and no one else has asked for anything. Like even Java used to be the main consumer of our swig things for libsuml, and they didn't even like it because they wanted the pure Java version of everything because they're a really walled garden. But
Looking at what's on Pippy downloads, none seems to be have variant.
they have every variant, yeah.
No cross,
Yeah, so if you
Is it possible that you go into more detail about how do you use, for example, one Python 3 for having, for example, Python 3.9? Because when you are having a C++ project, for example, and you're using CMake, you used to, for example, you have to find package, for example, do find package Python, and that it finds, for example, a Python interpreter for that suite thing.
Right, and there was a big problem before, but once we moved the whole CMake process into setup.py, setup.py, when it's being called by one interpreter, knows for which interpreter you're trying to build it. And you can restrict finding the corresponding libraries to be precisely those that the current interpreter to. So if you look at the setup.py script for Python libsuml, or I can.
yeah, if you can find it, that's probably easier. Yes. Yeah, and So I will say, like for Roadrunner, we wanted to expose the entire API for Roadrunner, so we use Swig. And then that just gets everything. But for antimony, because I wanted it simpler, and antimony only has a single .h file that like it's antimony API.h, and everything is there. Then I use C types, sort of manually converted each function to in just Python, and then I don't have to worry about particular versions of Python anymore.
But the libSML is the same as.
libSML is the same as libRoadrunner. I mean, in its requirements, not in its implementation. They do something else here. So this is all your setup.py. The other thing is that like setup.py is apparently now deprecated. Like you shouldn't use setup.py anymore. You should use
For specifying
okay.
Yeah, for specifying the dependencies. To use it to build stuff, I think it's still okay.
Maybe.
You supposed to use the PyProject tunnel, right? And then you see it back.
Right, pyproject.toml apparently. Yeah.
So basically, this is where it comes from, right? I mean, Python knows which Python version it's currently executing, and Python also knows what its include directories are, and we don't link against the Python libraries.
So for Roadrunner, I actually have I sent a different argument to CMake and say use Python 3.7. It is located here. Use Python 3.8. It's located here, and I just rerun CMake for all those things.
Yeah,
but you can apparently pull it into.
It knows what it is.
So apparently, if we pulled it into setup.py, then you could just install it in one place and run Python 3.8 setup.py vdist wheel, and it would give you your.
Right.
Right.
It will still use that executable no matter what version it is. So
it'll find the correct one.
But the setup.py is being, I mean, we executed once for each version.
Right.
We in the many Linux container, you have in the Python folder, you have all the different Python versions inside, and we just do a bash loop of all of them, each one just doing Python setup.py wheel.
So at the end of the story, there is a binary which is built through that executable. And so
For
it
each
depends,
different-
it depends on that version.
Except possibly not if it doesn't need to, but you do still run it for every single.
We don't understand that it is using different things, I think, but at the end of that, we are having different versions of that.
We have those different versions, but they have those different versions because we're running the binary that has been created through audit wheel, which we named them and minced them so that they work for that specific version. If what you said, that we can have a range of Python versions, that's very cool.
I mean, NumPy apparently doesn't actually do that. Yeah, each individual ones for everything. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, if you were to find a way to use C types, like you'd have to do your whole API through that. And if you have a simple API, then you can just use C types, and then you don't need every different version, right?
Python.
Yeah. Then you're
using CBET, so
right.
it's really use a CBET, you mentioned CBET.
Yeah.
It's just painful. Yeah, I mean, I've got libSLML uses CI build, but another project that I use doesn't. Much harder to build. Doesn't build more. So I haven't even put it on the discuss.
Right.
I was going to be a
Yeah. Getting things up and running for all the things are always difficult. But once it does work, then it's a lot less work after that, I guess.
Yeah, I haven't put net on it yet, but it's just for Linux, right? So those guys.
Yeah. They're all builders.
No, I just wrote my script so I built it for them. But that one, like, so libSLML has the bindings in with the library. So one build is one Python build. Another project I made the library build itself, and my bindings are just
A separate thing.
the thing. So they just do the same build in the library.
Okay.
Multiple bindings of it. That's much bigger library.
Yeah.
So I just so I'm gonna just smooth it out. So
Yeah.
Yeah, that works all right, but it's you need to mention the repository. So here, the one is. But you're really long way. It looks up symbols now, it looks up symbols on.
I'm checking the dependencies of that .o file, which is created by the SPML, and you create some Python bindings, and there is a dependency for that specific version of the Python.
No, depending on how you compile it. I can show you in the setup script again. You can say for Mac and Linux, do not link against the Python library itself.
You have to say that.
Huh?
You have to say that.
Well, you have to say that because otherwise it's dependent. I mean,
Sure.
it links against the Python library and it becomes.
Yeah, that specific library as well. So if you do it against like the brewer version of Python, and I have another version from somewhere else, the one with the symbols with different location, you will blow up. If you will go to the address and it will go, this function is here,
And there isn't a function there, yeah, it'll just die, yeah.
Well, but we didn't used to do that. So that's why it's the compile option you have to manually turn on. In the code you find as well.
if you're building it locally for yourself, it's faster to link to the specific version.
Okay,
It doesn't
yeah.
really look up. That's exactly what you're jumping.
So I go to the Linux mill again.
Is that, I don't remember setting anything on ours. I don't know what the default is. Presumably the default would be like, look it up at the time, but is that a swig option?
No, that's a CMake.
It's a CMake option. I mean, what? Okay.
So it's
Python used a dynamic lookup. Is that what it's?
Yeah.
Oh, by default it's off.
Yeah.
And just for.
And for Windows, we have the bits and pieces where we go through the libraries that come back from find in the find script and remove the ones that we don't want. Like find Pythonlib on Windows will return you all of the Python libraries, like the Python 3 and the version specific one, and we kick out the version specific out of the list, so that we link only against the one that we have to.
For my when do you have an issue or new issue?
We have no issues with that. Well, the issue was that it's not supported by GitHub Actions. So for that, we used self-hosted. Basically, you have the machine sitting in your lab, and you register once for GitHub, and from then on, you can put actions on those machines.
Do you have a build version of Linux on your Mac that you can check? What is the app? How does the output, for example,
I mean, I can install it, install it. I mean, I will have one installed. Should be in there. Another side functions. That's definitely not there.
That says like the name of the thing is Python 3.11. So you, okay.
You see, it's not linked against any Python version. That's the undifferential part.
So can you just toss that file into Python 3.10 and it would work?
Potentially. Yeah. The thing is why you might still need a specific one for it. I don't know where the 3.11 here comes from, but maybe it's just from pip that it specifies 3.11 there.
Yeah,
Like pip install fixes. Like we have for the longest time when we are not using a setup pipe to install things, we were always guessing what the current site package directory is where people would want to install the library.
it changes all over the place.
Yeah. So that's why it became so much easier for us when we finally had it all in the setup pipe. And I guess we'll have to look at how to do that with Toml. I mean, I think you have still a setup pie in addition to the Toml.
The setup py file is only a shell thing, so you can do the setup
Yeah.
py develop mode.
But I mean, the whole extension mechanism.
Yeah, so
Would
the
still have
config
to be
thing.
there.
So what they did is they said, no more scripting. You guys have been banned.
Well, and
Getting
I can
config,
understand
getting-
how that for pure Python packages that will be okay. But
Purely declarative. I said you can't do anything but what it says. So that was one of their motivators to get copy from scripting in the server.
I mean that.
Because yeah, like the latest version of pip like broke everything on
But see, they still have that. Well, they had that piece. What is the current version?
So setup.config is quite powerful and it does a lot of what I want normally do.
Mhm.
See, they still have that bit apparently. So, and this is exactly where on this extension class is what is overwritten with the CMake.
Yeah. So this is the thing. Like, so you've still got the setup for these situations where you need to do some other stuff that's still there. So you end up with 3 files now.
So, but yeah, but I mean, since we still have this, what was broken for biosimulations?
the in the setup.py for everything on biosimulations, it installs pip, or it uses pip to get other things. And now the latest version of pip, when it calls setup.py, it calls it in a clean environment without pip. So now everything breaks because we need pip to install other things, and it's like, no, you shouldn't install other things. So we have to figure out how to get around that, or put something in the requirements. Yeah,
run the get pip Python file to get pip.
I don't think so.
Are you setting virtual environments? I think
pip sets up a virtual environment itself when it runs it when it does the requirements.
Oh yeah, but no, but it doesn't do the requirements anymore because those requirements can be listed here as well. Like build depends on what other packages you need.
Yes.
It can be in the setup file.
Let me see. I didn't set this up myself. I just inherited this crazy thing.
A lot of that stuff is that the way you create your virtual environment changes what you get these days. Like there's setting up a virtual environment, we're setting up through VM module. There's lots of different ways to build Python virtual environment these days, and some of them treat
Which is I'm using always the VM package because I used it back in the day.
Well, I use the VM module.
Yeah.
Because since 3.9 though, like 3.7, I don't think didn't work very well.
But I mean, it brings pip along with it into each of the.
Yeah, it does, but some other ones don't. So you can create some virtual ones that don't.
And even in Conda, you create a new environment, it brings pip from that. What? I mean, people were really adamant that
Because I'll tell you why, because they bring in their own like Linux XML2 libraries and stuff like that. It screws things up. And then you're using Linux XML2 library.
Yeah.
Goes nuts.
Yeah, I was actually wondering whether we should be doing that, like create like a libSQL library first and then create a Python one for it. But I was never a fan of shared libraries, and
But the
Python
very
also
little
can-
shared libraries going on. Mostly nowadays, it's symbol interference is the problem. Like symbol interference. Right down the symbol.
It's not the right symbol, yeah.
Yeah, so my script still links statically against the dependencies that I can find myself.
Yeah, oh well. libcellml doesn't. It tries to.
That's what I do. Do that too. Yeah.
So it's only got the
Yeah, but
exactly.
that is evil. I mean, I can tell you already that it's evil.
Yeah. So this worked up until the like last week's version of pip. And now.
But how do you instantiate an environment? I mean, that's where it will be.
I don't know.
Smart device, your permission is required to connect your device to TV allow button.
Okay.
It's like, oh.
There's a Netflix, there's a Prime Video. That's the
Yeah.
device.
So yeah, and it when this is a dependency of something else, then pip like grabs it and I guess runs setup.py, which is
Yeah, so in that
surprising to me. I
in
thought
that
it would have just grabbed the wheel, but
Let's set up pi, like if you just scroll down.
Yeah.
Further down, you kind of. Oh, okay. So here you would have a build requires dictionary, where you basically.
yeah, and I think we have that for
all of the
Roadrunner.
ones that you want, and that is better than just manually invoking pip
I think they
up there.
Yeah, I think this is exactly the sort of behavior they want.
stop. Yeah. Yeah.
Keep up pretty shit in here.
Like, what are you doing? Like, no, don't do that.
Oh, but they have an install requires in there. Look at that. In the bits that you shared, it just took it out of some other document.
Oh yeah, it pulls it. I think that's. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I see some very good bugs. I see them.
Right. They're trying to clamp down on that sort of thing.
They have districtly done it. A lot of that stuff broken.
I mean,
I was
for me, it hasn't.
Right, like no,
I
not
would have
anymore.
thought that I would have noticed it breaking with a conda pull request whenever they changed the system.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay, so CMake CI build wheels was also the first thing I was wondering about. The next thing then though was versioning, right? Because you want to make sure what version is your Python package, because I mean ultimately you can have only one Python package per version on pipeline.
Yeah.
Was wondering what you guys are doing there. Like for libSBML, we have one version text file in the repository, and we read that out to create the Python versions.
Oh yeah.
I just have it in my package.
But then you would have to touch it all the time, right?
No,
Every release, you would have to edit your setup file and
yeah,
manually pump the
we
version.
have a bigger problem because we put a version number in all our generating files. So I've got a script that goes and updates my version. So we just run it. I just use my build bot stuff, and I just say set the version to this. So I set my version. I have a script that runs and sets my version.
What I use for Basico is this project, which you set it up one time, and then it always figures out what is the current version of the file. It goes back to the git tags, figures even out whether it was committed or not, and attaches those name things along.
I use it in some projects.
Yeah.
But not for libcellml. libcellml, it's not sufficient because we have version numbers throughout the test answers.
Oh yeah, because you're generating things and you need the particular version numbers for the tests. Yeah.
What version the code generated.
Yeah. Yeah.
So just updating the version, like the Python version.
Yeah. So for us, for Roadrunner, as a version.text.in, which is a CMake thing. So CMake knows the Roadrunner version, and then it generates a version.txt for
Okay,
everything
well,
else.
it's just the other way around.
Yeah.
The authoritative one is the text file,
right.
and CMake picks it up from there, and
Yeah, and I think in actual CMake list, this is where we say like major minor patch
How
thing.
authoritative version number is project, base projects,
Hmm.
version this.
Yeah, and I think I also do it the other way around in antimony. Have a file that is the, I don't remember, but yeah.
We don't even see text file, we just configure it in version to version.
Mhm.
But you still need it on the generated Python stuff as well, so that people can do package name dot version, figure out the version while it's running the environment. I'm not attaching it there too.
We have API version.
Okay, but I mean that's the standard way of just asking.
No.
Yeah, it's in there is the I think it's the oops, no, I think the storage. You can just go libcell.unsplice version unsplice.
Yeah, exactly. Like this one is the standard way of doing it with every package, and that should just be working without figuring out what is the get version called. What is it?
Excuse me. Oh, you just switched.
No, I mean I didn't switch. It's just
Yeah. So this is the biosimulators thing. They have an underscore version.py with that in it, and that gets picked up somewhere. And then it also is the git tag, like the GitHub Actions grabs the tag name and uses that in places.
Something must be modified this file, that you have to modify it.
This one you have to modify by hand. So you like, and this, so this is, the only issue for this is that there's two places you have to update it. You have to update this file and you have to update the tag. And then the tag, like putting in a tag, like triggers the GitHub action to do a release.
So basically,
So,
I
yeah.
just need to do the tag,
Mhm.
and then it triggers automatically the release and push the pipeline.
Yeah.
And all the versions, because I installed it editable on all devices, it will tell me, no, but what's the git commit? Is it committed? It's not committed.
Right. Yeah.
I like that because then it's very clear. Whenever I ask someone, what version are you running? Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've done. I do that a lot as well.
Mhm.
Smell doesn't do that. It's slightly more. When you do a release, you set the version when you release.
Yeah, I mean that's
Go and
when I
release
mean
this version, and then it stays there. So our current development version is 0.4.0.
Yeah.
But that has already been released.
but I mean in GitHub, right? The release mechanism is creating a tag that creates automatically.
Yeah.
a release.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah, so my whole set the version process. Sets the version, updates all the version numbers throughout the code. I think it's 204 pages.
That's a lot.
And then
Doesn't sound
then it creates a tag and pushes.
Yeah.
And then the app triggers off a whole bunch of actions. So that's how we do it. We drive it from setting the version number. That creates this, and the type of version number you set depends. Technically, it's going to be.
And then you have a script for that, and everybody that knows about it. But in case somebody
In case you get hit over by a bus.
I tell people, but
For biosimulators, that's it wasn't good.
I have it.
You didn't get run over by a bus, got run over by a better job in industry.
I have it fully documented.
Yeah.
So if someone does want me, what you made to they should, in theory, without too much together.
Yeah. Our build system has changed too quickly to remember to keep the how to build like a release document update. It's like, oh wait, like we actually changed how we did that 3 months ago.
I
Like,
usually trying a lot harder to keep my documentation in sync.
Yeah.
I'm the one.
because you actually,
Because I go like, what do I do to this project? Because each of my projects that I work on, I
They're
always have-
slightly different.
I got a different plan for this. I'm gonna try something different over here. So,
So that's an interesting way to keep yourself honest, is to just confuse yourself and have to use the documentation.
so I like to try different things.
Yeah. Yeah, then you can adapt that across the other things. That works.
So, yeah, so that's typically how I work. He's just like, oh, let's try this.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, no, that was a fail. But I do try and document as much as I can, so I can use it. So
Yeah.
I go like, oh, what did I say to do?
Yeah.
Oh, nothing to- oh, yeah. But yeah, I found that for me particularly, writing documentation. Helps me a lot.
Helps yourself, yeah.
Helps
Yeah,
me.
if you write it so it helps you, then that will get done. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So, but I do it differently for a lot of projects. It's like not the same. I do Python version at the time. But yeah, just the HTML was a bit awkward with all the version numbers that we have.
Yeah.
So
The next ones that I have on my list for me personally to figure out are quite Python specific. Like the first one would be logging. Like I was happy using the logging API for Python, happily logging away in the root logger until I had to turn on debugging for once, and then because I was using the root logger, everything else, every other Python package in the world would tell me their debugging information as well, and you do not want to know matplotlib's debugging information, for example. So yeah,
Interesting.
I finally have changed that, but I was wondering what your approach to logging in Python would be. Or
I use a lot of them. I'm very trying to core libraries.
and
Just
can you share how you? If you're on a Zoom, otherwise I could find the libsml project.
LibSML doesn't want shit.
Should have done.
So libsml doesn't log. It's C, right? It's free.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
And-
some people use logging even in C.
I mean, yeah, Roadrunner has a logging system from C that we just expose in Python. We don't use the
Yeah,
Python thing.
We have a class for logging stuff. So
Mhm.
so things that do actions that log errors. Use that logging class.
Yeah.
So we have log capable classes.
It's
So
like,
if you've got errors, you have to go to the ask how many error count or how many issues and warnings you found.
So
Yeah, but that's for the end
Liam,
user.
in our
Right.
that work was on a spatial monitor in C++, and a very nice library. Which happens to be Speedlog. And format. So I mean,
I don't remember what
those are really nice for logging, but that's in C++. And yeah.
So we don't log anything to file, we just log,
Yeah.
we just register errors as we go through like the parsing or printing.
Yeah, but I mean, that kind of logging that we do in libsml is for the end user, while what is maybe talking about is developer logging.
Well, I mean that's I mean with the logging API from Python, you have the different log levels. So see, it was just last week on a train ride when I was just finally did not do that anymore. And now basically I stole this nice logging class from PyPesto. I was at a PyPesto where you log either to the console or to screen. And that sets up the logger once, and from then on, each class just instantiates its own logger by name, and then instead of using a root logger, it just logs.
Yeah, I've done this. I mean,
And with that one, you can specifically say, I only want logging information in this specific submodule, and then matplotlib doesn't complain.
oh, okay.
yeah, I've done something similar for application. And that uses logging like that. Checks you written.
And so some of that
Checks
is for
the
users, and
logging
some of them
files
is only
and-
for me. So
Okay.
They have So it logs stuff.
And you use this the same approach, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then maybe that's the way.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, just
Well, the standard way says import logging and log away. That's what the documentation says for the logging API, right?
it's, yeah, I don't know, but that's the way I track my own, give it a name.
Yeah, I mean it's really nice if you want to fine grain information. That's just not what they use for a long time.
I don't typically use a lot of logging or developer purposes. I mean, libcellml itself,
Just works.
we just don't, yeah.
Who cares?
What we have with libcellml is we have a debugging utility like it. Then we have a lot of the tools that do all the debugging things, like we're printing out maps or private data stuff. We have all these printing functions and stuff that we use. And then we link that in when we're developing it and use the bits as we want. And then we don't link it in when we're putting in. So there's tests say you want to use a debugger library, so make sure it's not in use when you do this. So don't push that into the main paper.
Oh, okay.
So that's how we use it. I think in our case with our coverage of the code, it's been slightly different.
One thing, are you guys still worried about backwards compatibility? Okay. Like Python 2.7 is never a thing to be seen again.
Python 2.7 I have.
Yeah, we haven't worried about Python 2 for quite some time.
If anybody comes to me with Python 2, I say go on.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, well,
I need it.
Yeah.
that's what I had. I mean, I was fine ditching Python 3.1 until 3.6, like all together.
Right.
There's still every once in a while one holdout with the Python 2.7 last version, and
I mean,
For the longest
the
time-
advantage of Python 2.7 is that it's stable, right?
Python 2.7 didn't help.
okay.
One advantage of Python 2.7 is that it's stable, right? Like you're not gonna, right?
Stable, it's not moving.
Yeah, exactly. Which is why what makes it like Python 3, like the libraries changing their APIs every other random release and stuff. Like it's constant work to keep up with just your dependencies. And use Python 3.7. It's like this is what I have. You know, I don't have if it works.
I got rid of my cross code and stuff.
Okay. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
it was for the longest time. It wasn't a big pain until like NumPy and SciPy and everything started ditching it.
Yeah.
And the versions just don't work together anymore.
Yeah.
And then of course there came this thing, type annotations, right? I mean, type annotations make what was like a valid Python 2 file valid one.
Oh, yeah.
I'm still on the fence on.
That's something about the tests there.
Okay.
The types
Yeah.
or declaring types. Yeah.
That's why it's on the
nature of
list.
Python is to be
Typeless.
typeless.
Yeah.
I
The very nature of it is typeless.
Yeah.
So it's fine now.
Okay, so I'm of the same mind. I just noticed that everybody else seems to like suddenly prefer strong typing in Python. Running everything through MyPy is I think the one that basically complains if you don't have type annotations. But because I got burned before, where basically code just stopped working because of type annotations, I'm hesitant to put them in. I was wondering what people are thinking about. Well, I got your opinion.
But also the fact that I often do very dodgy stuff. I make use of the fact that
Yeah.
Python just uses it. If you say it's a thing, it will use it as that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
so I can throw stuff into it that the type stuff will go, you can't put that here. Yes,
I
I
mean-
can. It has what I need.
Yeah.
What it's going to go to.
Yeah.
Leave me alone. You don't know
Actually,
what it is.
I similarly like I mocked up a version of something that only had the things I was actually using because I couldn't get the real thing. You know, they just like oh, so I'm sending it not the real object, but sort of my faked up object with a few with the two functions in it that I needed, and then it just works,
I
right?
actually like code completion like the best of us, but I find this is a harmless way of doing type annotations. Because I mean IDEs will still pick it up. And I'm like, oh, okay, if you're talking model, you got one of those objects, and it is harmless, it doesn't break anything.
Yeah.
And in cases where I really just want
Code
code
completion is
completion, I put in the search statement. And I have a bunch of those. I put in the search statement in, and then code completion is happier. It's if I don't have a type application.
Yeah, I've found myself for code completion, if it can't figure out the type, I will run it to there and then like go to the console and figure out what the code completion is and then use that.
Yeah, I do the same thing.
Yeah.
There's pros and cons of the type stuff.
Yeah.
Python reasonably.
I mean, the nice thing
It was
if
designed.
you put a search statement like this, then the static code analysis that is running with IDs in the background will actually continue to mark stuff where things go wrong.
Yeah, I think that's the use case there. It's catching this in people.
Yeah.
It's meant
Well, and
like
before
the
even, right?
programmer to know what they. I think for me, the amount of times that is useful. So it's a tight race as to whether it's beneficial for putting all the types of in for those times when you actually can't do that problem.
Like I rarely, when I put in something like this. Otherwise, putting it in the documentation is helpful because some people have a clue of what the function is probably going to put in. But having it strongly typed to preventing people to use it with other types, I hesitate to go there.
I would say like the lack of typing in Python was my biggest barrier to trying to think in Python when I first started learning Python. Like the fact that nothing was typed was just like, that always annoyed me every time, like, and eventually I'm like, oh yeah, nothing's typed. So, that was my barrier.
The whole monkey patching thing was what was making it so interesting. Like you have a library, and the function it almost does what you want, right? Just one behavior is off, and you can just replace what the function was doing.
I do that all the time. I do that all the time.
And in any other language that would be really, really difficult.
Yeah.
I mean, C# was getting close to doing. I've not seen something like that.
You can do it in MATLAB, right? You can do horrific things like that. Sorry, like your function.
Use this one instead, yeah.
I do it all the time. I use it all. Legally, like these are the buckets and stuff like that.
In terms of compatibilities with Python versions, are you following the official thing where basically SciPy and NumPy say per Python version we have so many years of support, and they put it on the website, and there's like a Python procedure for it.
I've been basing it on Colab. Colab is old, and so I want to make it work on the
7, I think.
I think it just moved to 3.8, but yeah, like whatever Colab is currently using is generally like our oldest.
I base mine on how much can I make.
Yeah.
So I'm sort of saying 5.
Okay.
Okay.
So, but
5 different versions.
But there is the official way of doing it, right?
Is 5 versions.
I don't particularly take too much notice of the others.
Yeah, I haven't been looking at dates or whatever.
Yeah. You can take note when they just give their stuff. And then like I'm not bothered with 3.6 and below because they change so much.
I mean, basically they have these timelines from one to one day.
Confident say I did not take in that word.
Yeah.
Okay.
I also have
They will
not
just
noticed.
go for
Is it like
my main driver there is how much do I feel like.
Like you would know that apparently they do not do any 3.9 anymore stuff.
yeah,
The
that's
5th of April.
a lie. Like Colab still uses 3.8, right? I mean,
Well,
like you have to support
It's
Colab.
not 2024 yet, so.
3.8.
3.8 with 3.
Colab is 3.8, yeah.
3.7 2021. Then when they stopped supporting. Was it?
And the corresponding number.
Yeah, I don't know.
The way Colab's just gone 3.8, now it's a stable number.
Okay.
Well, 3.8 was fine. All right, there we are. Yeah. Hey. Okay, so that doesn't face the effects. Okay.
Yeah, it's very functional, like what people are asking and what.
Also,
The other thing is just sort of how long the automatic build system takes to run.
So
Yeah.
basically, this change hit me. Basically, I had to just remove it from the CI pipeline.
Because it was
just
taking
gets
too long.
not tested anymore because there was no current sector and version.
Yeah. Yeah, if when there's, that's the other thing, is that if there's no NumPy version that I can compile against, then although there is one, it's just different from the other one when that's confusing.
Yeah, it was
so.
some other package required the new NumPy version of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, another one to start freezing, right? That's
Yeah.
That's the idea of freezing, right? So you can say, this is my 3.7 freeze package.
Yeah.
It's stuck on that.
And nothing new is going to happen there, right?
Well, I mean, it happens automatically for me because I mean, if you run on Python 3 and it does a pip install the C++ packages, it looks good. When was the last time there was a CP37 package there and it installs them?
That made, for a bit, the NumPy version, like I had to do a 3.7 because Colab was still doing that, but NumPy had a newer version for 3.8 than it did for 3.7, and that messed up my requirements text file. I had to like go in and was like, if I'm 3.7, then my requirements is this, and if it's 3.8, then the requirement required NumPy is this.
C++ dependencies
of NumPy directly.
The C API changes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So.
One quick question for you. Where did you hide the copy?
I think everything got moved up here, right outside. So. Wow. Yeah, we are probably. Is 10:30 the official break, or was 10 the official break? I don't remember.
10:30.
10:30.
No, 6.
Yeah.
Seeing this, I realized what I thought of too.
Like, oh.
This is the thing, right? Like most of my time now is maintenance. But
There's a lot of trying to update the latest. It was there apparently.
Okay.
Good.
Even look on.
Very nice. There's probably a microwave somewhere, but yeah, there probably is one on this floor. I don't know where it is, but.
Okay. So the next thing that I personally find really useful keyboard arguments for functions. And
Herbert hates them because when they
completion.
go to completion, like you can't see what the arguments are.
Exactly.
Right.
So, but they're really
if like when you are actually using Python and you want to know what the arguments are, if it just says kwargs, you're like, okay, I don't know what the ending of the arguments are, and you have to like go somewhere else in the documentation to find it. You can put it in the documentation, but then it's like it is a fair amount of extra work. Yeah.
It's evil, but it is really convenient. I mean, even just look at set reaction.
It's convenient, but I'm avoid. I can't do it because of Herbert.
I hear
also don't like it.
For newer Python versions and what some packages are using, you have this kwargs thing, and then behind it, you put the variables that you actually have in the kwargs dictionary. And then you get both. You get the code completion, but it only works for newer Python versions. And that's why I brought it up earlier, but that's not a problem for you guys.
Newer Python versions as of when?
Yeah.
Is it like, was it like 3.9 or something, or was it?
I'm not sure if I'm the only one actually looking on Zoom, but could we share that on?
Oh, yeah,
the-
share the screen, yeah.
Oh, sorry. Hello, Augustine. Sorry,
Hi.
we're not doing well with looking at Zoom and chat questions there. I hope there weren't any.
I don't think there's any chat questions, but I don't know. I'm just enjoying the conversation. Learning stuff
Yeah,
about
so
Python.
this was the document earlier where we talked about the different Python versions, and where basically NumPy says at what point in time will they stop supporting stuff, and whether that's something to go with as well.
Yeah, but since I missed it, this last little bit of the conversation of something about code completion and the documentation, and I didn't hear the name of the tool.
Keyword argument.
It's the keyword argument, the
Kwargs.
motif, the kwargs, KWARGS.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like
It's just-
I'm
the-
using it all over the place. Where
So the issue is that if you use kwargs, then when someone is using that function, and they do code completion and they're trying to figure out what the arguments are, all it says is kwargs, and then you don't know what you're supposed to, what the options are, and you have to find them from the documentation somewhere else.
the problem is that any default that you give for a keyword argument
Mhm.
at some point is wrong. And just, I mean, because I mean, for an initial concentration, like a float number would be nice, but sometimes you don't want to set an
None.
initial concentration.
And initial values are always none. That's what we do.
Yeah. but-
Default in general, default things are like we set to none, and then we say like if none, then do
So-
whatever.
The nice things in Quarks, I mean, it's extensible. Like later on, when you add something,
Yeah.
you don't have to look anywhere back as long as you don't fall over. And you just check whether the new name that you want to try out is in the dictionary or not. And later on, you can propagate it to the documentation. But yes, I have received that this as well, that people would like it with code completion. And like I hear that you can add it after the quarks.
Right, so you were gonna look at, so that's what you were about to look up
That
to
was
see.
what I was trying
yeah.
to.
I forget the Kwargs.
We don't use kwargs, yeah.
I use
Oh, you do?
inheritance stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
Inheritance stuff.
Oh, okay.
Just something, could do that.
Well, we don't do a lot of inheritance, actually. We just tend to be kind of a flat structure, so. Yeah,
That's at the end.
yeah, that would make sense. I'm trying, oh, that probably is why. There is one there's a system in Roadrunner about like plotting.
So that I think is evil. I wouldn't be using something like
Unpack,
it's a
I don't know,
type
I'm familiar with that,
annotation, and
just treat it like just see if you have to do that for every function. It's probably even more of an hassle than writing a document.
But is it more
But
it's easier for the user? Like, would they like see it then?
It's easier for the user,
Right, but it's more work on
probably a
you.
lot of time.
Yeah,
I mean, some functions that are so simple.
yeah, you just put.
I think here's what I've seen. Yeah, I can't find it right now.
Okay.
Okay, so did you say that you and Tellurium are using them? Or?
We use them in a couple places, but I mean, I inherited most of it. And I think it is exactly the case where we have different classes and different inheritance, and you have to use kwargs there. But whenever Herbert finds it, he's like, "Why? What is this thing?" Like, I don't know what the arguments are. You have to think like a user.
I am a user.
Right.
Interesting feature.
Yeah, you can. Oddly enough,
I have to think about something.
I think so. Yeah, it's the sort of thing that, that Jonathan Carr would love. Yeah.
You need to begin virtual computation.
Yeah.
As soon as you turn kwargs, you're gonna have.
Yeah.
Which is the same thing. Like, I mean, I create custom return classes, or like just like the keyboard arguments. I do like dictionaries as returning things. They have the same problem. They're not tab completable, but they're just really convenient to like. And apparently with unpack, what we saw in that example earlier, you can map types to dictionaries. People wanted to do that.
Yeah, it's interesting.
So in Tellurium, you always create custom types. Or...
I haven't used Tellurium directly as much. I'm trying to think what I've seen. I mean, in a sense, we've gone the other way. Like Herbert is really big on tab completion, like really big on tab completion. So like, so we expose like our model objects have a like it like in the C you have all the variables in the model, right? And so we actually put as tab completion like r dot something, you can hit tab and get S1. So r dot S1 is a thing if S1 is a variable in your model.
And you would get that with understated constructs. That's why I used them at the beginning, but then people started putting spaces in their mix.
Yeah. So then you have to do, but then so things with spaces you have to do r bracket quote, so the thing with space, and that so it works, and it's a little bit more complicated. But even like the particular, like all the metabolic control analysis stuff are all sort of tab completion things. Like so, like the EC and EE of whatever are all there.
Like the old selection syntax, it was a function, right? It was like control.
So there is like, right. So those functions are still there, but there are also keywords that you can say like r dot EC of EC of S1 and J0 or something, and that'll you may have to use the bracket thing for that because there's like a comma in it, but anything that doesn't have a space or a comma or symbols, you can just r dot whatever, and the things that do have the metabolic control things, you bracket quote whatever it is. You could also do it with get value, but just as sort of as compact as possible for the user.
Yeah, but you have to patch them every class. Like, to add them to the list.
Well, and in general, also Herbert is a big fan of trying to be as flat as possible. So you have like your Roadrunner object, and that just has everything on it. There's not a lot of sub objects. So again, so you can find things r dot tab, and you get the list, and you can see everything. It sometimes takes a while to go through, but if you type r dot get, then you can get some things, or EE, and you see all the EEs or something.
What about you? Dicts return types, okay? Or...
Yeah, I return whatever is required for the time. I think us
Yeah.
Back and I'll do a couple or whatever.
Certainly internally, I'll use tuples or dicts or whatever. Like, and anything I don't care about the user for, or if the user is just me, I'll just whatever's most convenient.
I do a lot of programming in JavaScript as well, all the time. So
sort of standard procedure, yeah.
Yeah, it didn't take JavaScript right for me. I mean, I like using VS Code, and seeing that things have gotten better, but didn't expect things to come as long as again. That was sort of The fun thing about this harmony for me is that works really nicely.
Yeah, like, oh, hey.
Surprising.
Yeah, some of this stuff, well, the script and stuff is what I consider to be quite niche.
Mm.
And doing stuff what I'm trying to do is niche on the niche. So that overflow becomes very much useful when you start asking questions.
Yes, but that's what we have chat for, right?
ChatGPT, yeah. But yeah, normally I try to find those things I find quite hard to do what I'm doing. Because I'm doing a niche thing in theory anyway.
So you don't have a lot of help. Yeah. Yeah.
But for us, well, especially with the Caltech infrastructure going away, that suddenly we have a couple of servers that don't have anymore. That would be nice if you could replace some of it with client-side code.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
especially that is apparently, but even the online validator, for example,
Yeah.
would be fine to run client-side. A, people don't really want to submit their model apart from their machine.
Mhm.
And B, it's just faster.
Yeah.
It's just JavaScript. Getting the GUI right is still really.
Yeah, I mean, plain way, Herbert would be awesome, but
For the GUI, Herbert, he's a big Delphi fan and he loves the graphical. And there's a tool now that converts Pascal to JavaScript. So we can lay out everything graphically and then convert it to
And Delphi, and then do that to JavaScript. Wow. Nice.
I don't think people still use it.
Herbert loves it, yeah, and it still looks really nice. So yeah.
Yeah, the JavaScript stuff. I mean, we use it for our website and with our models, particularly annotated to consider development. I have those are the biggest models I've tried.
Yeah, for us, we had for the longest time, like the genome scale models, and those were the ones having the most issues.
Trying to
validation took a little time.
Yeah, especially doing like unit validation on genome scale model or something. It's like,
If you have a file that's 100 megabytes,
Yeah,
and you had to transport it across the wire, then you had to do the analysis.
so I think the biggest one we've done.
But you must have had issues with models being in different locations, right? Because you have a component.
oh,
with an
like this.
extra query somewhere else, and you must have got space. Combine that.
Is that what you were using?
Even for certain parts with different components.
If you want to upload it.
Oh,
Okay.
We haven't done a whole lot of them.
Yeah.
We've just been finding our world,
Slowly, like,
yeah, so,
pushing things out.
so something like almost.
Yeah.
So we just and there's someone out there.
Yeah. Yep, it's break time. All right, I will pause the recording.
Herbert along all the time, but promise that it probably is going to work.
Okay.
All right, we're back after our break.
Where's that list?
Is it in the chat? Did you get there?
It's going to be
Oh,
right here on this.
Ah, there we go.
yeah.
Okay. Well, we have
But you have tons of tools, all you can do versions. And you probably don't want to manually update version numbers. Like you heard earlier about in the setup LAPI, there's like 200 traces in the code that need to be touched for the version information to be updated. Well, I mean, they don't need to be, but they chose to do it that way.
We generate code, and that generated code has our version number, so we know exactly
What version was it was,
what
yeah.
version generated.
So all the tests then have those
All
things.
the
Yeah.
text and the version.
Let's see.
I have the same thing in antimony. Like I have test conversions from SML with antimony, and it all says created with lib antimony, whatever version.
Yeah,
And
but I mean,
so-
that's a comment that shouldn't be operative for.
It's just in the test. I do a text comparison, and I just do a search and replace when I update the version number, and all those created by lib antimony version numbers get updated. Yeah.
So in our anti-generator code, we actually set the version number as a value, so that we know exactly what version is going to generate.
Yeah.
But that's not within the code. That's like
It's just the tests.
the tests that are using the code.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, so
yeah,
what I meant
so
here
the
was-
expected answers have the version number.
Yeah.
This is the answer I expected.
Right.
Fortunately, it's version based.
Right.
Code has a version in it, so
Yeah.
we have to have
Yeah.
the answers.
And it also things can change between versions.
Right. So you may well, in that case, you would update the test to actually have the change, but everything would you want the current
I
version?
just really meant like
Yep.
for the library bit itself.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like you want to expect like a piece in Python like dot version to just work, and you want this answer to be the right ones without going through too many hoops.
Yeah.
For me, that was like the versioneer tool that I found online for one package. I was wondering whether that's something I said.
Yeah. I have just a single place where I put versions in the setup.py version there. And then with Python, you know, you release on pip IPI that version. And so you could, if you had a separate testing framework, you could import the version from IPI, like your registry with all different versions, and then run it. But if you don't, it sounded like inside of the code itself, you have all that version reference. I think it's a matter of like what's calling what, you know. Right?
Does setup.py set up the underscore version thing by itself?
Yeah,
does
it does. Here, I can show you my.
Because I think we've always had to set it manually.
Yeah.
If we didn't do it, it just doesn't show up anywhere.
Let's see.
I typically for a pure Python package, especially not for my C build stuff.
Yeah.
I set the underscore version in the Python package main package.
Right.
File.
Right.
And then I get set up Python
To read it. Right.
I only ever have a single source.
Right. Right.
I don't get that.
Right.
This.
Do you have to tag it then the same as what you, so sort of two places in the tag and then in the place in the code?
The software repository.
Yeah.
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 I
So it's
use
sort of
so the setup, so that, you know, this is of course Python. I have it here as a global, but that's just so that I can, it's at the top of the file for me. I don't actually import this anywhere else. And then I have a script for making a release, which I call dot / release, give it the version number, it puts the git tags up.
Oh, but it doesn't do the underscore.
This is just that's what pip does for you.
Oh, it does.
Yep. Okay. So you can do. Let me verify that. So here.
Pip does that for you, or setup.py does that for you?
Well, yeah.
Something in.
Pip calls it a setup. Looks
Okay.
for setup. So if we have, let's say this is
Okay, I thought you had to do that manually. But
We've always done it manually. Oh, yeah.
I might have. Yeah. Oh yeah, you're right. Okay.
Yeah, that's why we manually added it always. So.
So I well, what should I put?
It's interesting. Let me dig around a little bit before I.
Is Zoom filtering you, Lucian?
What's that?
Is Zoom filtering you?
Oh,
Looks cartoonish a little bit. Yeah, you would.
Well, share your screen, then it's not just me.
Lucian, put it down.
Just enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See. Doesn't do a lot of
Which is a valid answer too. Just I mean, I was just wondering.
Wondering what people do. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess I always end up doing. I end up just using the kit.
Like
but then you
modify the
yeah.
file,
Yeah.
as part of post processing of the sweep process, and otherwise I use this for thingy.
Yeah, I think I've previously gone like this. So pip knows it, but the package itself.
Right. Yeah. It'll just from within Python, you can't get the version basically. Yeah.
Yes, it can be you. Yeah. Yes, one. Let me just share the screen in case Augustine is not there. Just share.
What is this again? Version?
No. Oh, who are you talking to?
Part as a class, part of a class.
Oh, it's your invited like
Yeah.
East Coast thing. So they're using Julia and Tellurium?
Yeah.
Interesting.
But they also use XPP.
This is nice.
They're finding difficult is the workflow to go from SPML to various targets.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
But from the init tool,
They pretty much sold on SPML.
There are translators. Are they kind of old or are they?
And that
Yeah. Is that what is the problem? Is the translators or? Yeah. Yeah.
You showed me the Julia stuff. Quite nice.
Yeah.
So does this one also have the version? So
No, that one should be the.
But they still use Tellurium a lot.
So this is my authoritative version of the version.
What?
We're not up yet.
We're not out yet. Okay, good.
We change that and change the others to set up high as well.
Set up high, you read.
Okay.
This is this used to be a standard way of getting
What's the last topic?
doing this.
We're still talking about sort of Python-y things.
Have to compile a program.
This used to be
Not
a standard
quite.
way, but the config, the setup.config has
It's
the
changed a
same,
lot.
the same concept. You just use say this is where it is.
But you still want the understand version thing in the code.
Yeah, it's still there. You leave it there, but the config. I do have some new ones. Where do I have a new one?
Show them this.
Oh, okay.
Oh, nice.
So, oh, that's useful.
Yeah.
Maybe we can start dressing this up and adding translators to it.
Other translators? Yeah, I can see that. If libsml was easy enough to work to use, I could do selml again because I have all my old code. Yeah.
I'm thinking of MATLAB and
Yeah, we have a Python SPL the MATLAB project. Yeah,
we do.
does that still work or does it?
Specifies it needs it, so it's actually-
Some log?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's
I
there's
think
a
I
second
do
around
with
the other
the
one.
Some of
That's
it.
it. And so they have this,
Yeah.
mechanism for just grabbing the version number from the.
Oh.
So this is quite good. These config things, they're quite powerful.
But this
Yeah.
then is.
A couple of interested in the idea of.
This is
yeah,
pure
unit
Python.
tests,
I only use it as
testing,
pure Python.
testing models.
Oh, okay. Oh, unit testing models. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The models themselves are, yeah.
But any
I think
new
it's coming.
any new thing I start. or create, I'm trying to do the approach.
Yeah.
'Cause I don't wanna- I've already got several hundred packages.
Yeah, this is the new recommended way.
This is the new- and it has, it is nice, it has a lot of stuff is really easy, because it's a lot easier than having to get here and read the file and reject everything, you just let that and know that. So we've done a lot of that sort of stuff. You can do, I haven't done any C binding stuff with this approach, but everything I have tried with it, it does now work really well. Early doors, I struggled trying to achieve some of the configuration controls that I originally had, but now
Yeah. It's in a lot of turnover, but for the better. Right, this stuff, logging,
Using standard.
Yeah, do you use Python-based logging or do you not use Python-based logging or?
I can talk more about the type annotation kwargs a bit.
Than logging. But do you not use Python logging? I mean, we have some C logging that from Poco, I think,
Yeah,
that and we just,
Not always super useful, you know.
yeah,
for developers, right? It's not for
Yeah, it's not for you.
For developers,
Yeah, okay.
user comes, I've got a problem.
Yeah.
Send me your logs.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, right.
That's when
Oh,
it's
okay.
quite useful.
Yeah.
It's typically what I would do. And, yeah, ask people for logs.
yeah.
hmm.
I do have some logging in the Vivarium 4 version that some students put in. And so there is, let me see.
I mean, the error messages for users in libhtml can be improved. I was noticing the other day trying to fix a SPL model.
Mhm.
It tell me an attribute was missing. It didn't tell me
What attribute was missing? Yeah.
That's we've been trying to do good error messages for
libsml, yeah.
So we're trying to say where it is.
Yeah, what line, which attribute?
actually missing.
And we're also linking back to the specifications. This is the rule.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think libhtml.
libsml does that pretty well. It always links back to the spec. It doesn't always tell you specifically how you broke that rule, but it doesn't always.
Attributes, it must tell you which.
No,
which
it
attribute
tells
was
you a
the-
selection. One of these might be missing.
It does say like, I need this whole list.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. So it looks like someone did end up putting
A lot of logging in there.
logging pretty in.
Yeah, look at that.
Into my my software.
Okay, but yeah.
It's been sending it to the NSF.
But you have custom logger objects and that's
Yeah. Yeah, so there's the Python stuff, import log.
Oh.
So that this
is actually the root logger.
this is the root logger. They import logging as log, and then just logging goes everywhere.
See, because I just switched away from the root logger because it really interferes. If you do suddenly switch to debug, you get debug from all the packages. And you don't want to see the map.lib ones. I especially didn't want because I didn't see
I
anything.
see. Okay, so you want your
So I
own.
just changed that to everywhere using my own. But yeah, you had to say you had something to say about type annotations.
Type annotations.
Hopefully something we had that earlier.
Yeah.
We were negative to expect.
It seemed like my pi has just
Yes.
been established as the Python typing. There was just a few years ago, still there were several competing standards there. My pi, the last, I want to say like 3 or 4 years, just that's it.
But it produces incompatibilities, right? I mean, it produces code that is invalid for Python 2, for example.
No one cares about Python 2, but
Except PMR.
Except PMR.
I see. So you
Is
put in type
there-
annotations.
Is there an earlier version of Python 3 that it also doesn't work with, or do you know?
I think it does. I think it does all of Python 3. I no longer support Python 2.
Yeah, we stopped a bit a while back, but
I mean, if you're a historian, it's of interest.
right. Or if you want a stable environment and not having to keep on updating your software.
I spent a long time going from 2 to 3, and now
Yeah.
screw you too.
Rock solid.
Yeah, I actually saw an article about how like some people are using Python 2 just because it is stable and because like it's not going to change. It might get security updates, or even if it doesn't, like they're not concerned about those security sort of things. Yeah,
Would it?
but people are using Python 2
No,
just
I
be-
mean, would it still get
security updates. I think it
No,
might probably
no,
doesn't.
I
I think it
stopped,
doesn't.
right?
Yeah, I think they did stop. Yeah.
It'll run
So.
on eventually. It'll running on your local machine without internet access.
Yeah. Or if I'm more on a Docker container, right? Like, you just have like, this is my Docker container with Python 2, it runs the things.
Even the Docker container with pip these days. Right.
Well, I mean, you wouldn't use pip. I mean, you would just,
That's kind of.
yeah.
So, is it enough to say type annotations do my pi, or do you want to?
Well,
That's interesting that you're doing that,
is the opposite of the consensus from earlier.
Really?
Yeah.
I found it getting in the way, but and that would seem to be the experience of you as well.
I've really enjoyed
Like
it.
I used it in the I like to do type annotations in comments, right? You
Yeah.
have your parameter name, and then you have to type for the name, and you get code completion with that. In case I need somewhere else, I have an insert statement in this instance. And
Yeah.
then, I get code completion with that.
Then you're not going to get a lot of like suggestions and static checking, and
You do a PyCharm to get it from the documentation bits as well.
it'll pull that out.
Type attribute name.
I see. Okay, probably a PyCharm setting you can put on there. So that was one of the competing standards that people were putting in.
And it doesn't
comments.
break anything. That's why I like it. But yeah, Lucian let us know that the Herbert didn't like kwargs at all.
Then the kwargs.
Keyboard arguments.
Oh, don't talk.
Kwargs, yeah.
Safety thing, that's great.
I make that very clear.
Yeah, you made it clear through me.
Be
It's
careful
so
with
annoying.
kwargs. They're powerful. I use them, but they are easily abused,
I'm
and
guilty of that, yes.
Yeah.
But still, they're useful.
they're very useful.
I mean, yeah, they're useful for developers. For users, they're rote pain.
So definitely put the top level function that people are going to be using. You want all the functions there. You want the arguments there, because that's
And
where
anything for the user, yes.
you put,
So yeah.
But like, so use at the top level function. Whatever it is that they're calling.
Yeah.
Don't put kwargs there. Just all the functions. And then after that,
If anything's internal, you can use.
internal
yeah.
private use kwargs.
I mean, it
because
also, it
otherwise
also
you just repeat.
encourages massive overload
It does.
of methods. Just look at matplotlib.
Mhm. Yeah, and you don't know what those are, so you end up carrying these huge things around, and it's hard to trace. But it saves you from repeating things over and over and over and over again.
I mean, it's just, where possible, avoid it
And
with other users.
typing and unpacking them.
Yeah,
Sometimes
it's
you'll be able to avoid it.
it's a, so you can just pass it right in. Else there's converting your kwargs to a dictionary, just have data.
Yes.
It's nice. Also, like dictionary to call a function, and you just have your dictionary statement, and you do the star.
Yep.
That's the only way I knew you could use kwargs is as a dictionary. Like I guess.
You can just pass them directly.
Okay.
So like if you have like one function,
Yeah.
and you can like collect a kwarg and pass it to another function, no one even knows.
You don't
what's-
necessarily know what
you
it is,
just
but
don't.
I was assuming that it was a dictionary all the way down, like it was always a dictionary. If it's not, then that's
Well, you
interesting.
can unpack them.
And you can pass it.
Okay.
It's really easy with that.
And the last one was dict return type or custom types.
Yeah. Custom types.
Really?
So custom types. Let me show some types.
You're not sharing.
Yeah, I'm pulling it out. Okay, so here, let me share this. And share. Okay, these are some custom types. Typing. So you have your atomic types that come through typing, and you can make custom types are this kind of thing. So you can, it's tuple with a string, or this is a topology. In Vivarium speak is a dictionary that the key is a string, and the value is one of these.
But do you get code completion for those? No.
It does do. It'll do at least the static checking for you, which is great. It catches things for you. For code completion, I'm not sure if this will do code completion, but you can get really pretty sophisticated with doing types, custom types.
Is Augustine slower?
No, we just
Because he wrote those.
yeah, you commented on things and then so I saw his chat thing, so yeah, Augustine said, can't say the whole session, not sure how well this was shared. Matthias and I worked on it with a summer student to make Combine notebooks. We tried to make Jupyter notebooks for many of the standards using the available Python libraries. Happy to discuss or answer questions by email about any issues. Did you? Yeah, okay.
We want to take a look at that.
Right.
When he's gone now. So.
So that's something that I think is quite relevant to our previous topics is function types. We want to be able to say like simulate like
Lambda.
type, a lambda, is that typing.
I mean, it's an anonymous function.
You
Well, as far as I'm concerned, in Python function are just another variable, right? I mean, it pass along.
Yeah. Can we like actually register as a type and then reuse it? Like
I mean, you can pass it along just like you can Perhaps any other variable.
But can you say like is instance?
Okay.
So let's say you have a function that takes in your model and parameter changes and puts out results or something like that. I want, and you type that and say, this is simulate.
Yeah, it's a function. I mean, it doesn't have a signature.
Yeah, so this is all functions just be that.
What to use as an object.
Yeah. It's a function.
Yeah.
So-
Which is what you, I mean,
But I want to know, is this a simulation function? Or is this a parameter estimation function? There's probably is a way to do that.
where you can probably use some introspection to figure out what is the code of the actual function.
Can you
Yeah.
stick in a decorator on it somewhere?
You can. Mhm.
So the only thing I still don't know is what else have you been up to? Like I heard about Roadrunner Tellurium and Make SVML.
What have we been stamping out bugs? I mean, really ones on the edge, things like, you know, doing massive simulations or what are the ones? Oh, sorting out the tolerance things, there's thing about amounts and concentration.
Oh, yeah, well, I talked about that at the ZML thing, but yeah, I've actually updated Roadrunner to do what Kapazi does.
Yeah, I've written a GUI as an example of interfacing to Roadrunner.
In
Delphi, of course, so it's cross-platform.
is it?
Yeah.
Works on the iPad now.
Oh, on the iPad, no. I've only compiled it for the Mac and Windows.
So Linux is not a platform.
What?
Linux is not a thing.
No. But I think we're moving. We're doing more things on the browser. We saw last thing. We've got a couple of things coming up. One of the things we're interested in for the renewal is model credibility. So you can dive into a model to find out if it's any good, if any mistakes been made. So we've got a rate law checker coming up for the summer. That'll be online. It'll also have a Python package to go with it.
Rate law checking, like
They make mistakes.
oh yeah,
Make mistakes in writing the rate laws.
we have that in Kapazi as well. Basically checking how they define the function and whether
I
it could
remember
get
Pat was
negative.
saying something like that.
Yep.
You've got a whole series of checks you want to make. But it's going to be part of an entire suite, if you get the money, an entire suite of checks on a model. So each check will get a score and you get an overall credibility score on a model. This came out of stuff that there's a group at IMAG who've been doing these 10 simple rules for model credibility. It also came out of COVID thing where, you know, those models, the software was, at least initially, was very suspect, but ultimately actually they did decent predictions. I mean, even though they were so badly put together, science-wise, still.
And the ensemble models were also better than like any individual model.
That's true, yeah.
Also, yeah.
But I mean, the UW model and the London model, I think, pretty much predicted roughly the right number of deaths. So interesting.
Yeah.
So our model training that basically things like
Can we access it from Python?
yes.
Checking.
I mean, we would get the same textual result. I don't have them in that one right now. But basically checks the ranges of parameters, makes sure that whether it produces a reaction will produce something even without substrates or not, and give warnings.
Yeah, things like that. Suspiciously named parameter values, or maybe the wrong place.
Names. I mean, people
Like
are
they stick a
names.
KM, they stick the symbol KM where you'd expect the Vmax symbol.
Okay, why we don't check with those? Names things, whatever. They want.
Is the rate law one of the common ones that's used? And if it looks weird, then we can flag as a potential warning. It might be genuine as well.
Is the convenience kinetic something commonly used or?
Convenience kinetics,
Yeah,
what it could be.
that's how commonly they're used. We've gone through the entire biomodels, classifying the rate laws. There's
There's
actually
like an
a
approach with
really limited number. pricing.
There's a lot of customers.
No,
No, very limited approach.
yeah, not a lot of others, mostly,
Very
yeah,
surprised at that.
yeah.
What else have we been doing?
Well, VS Code antimony, like the
Oh,
Visual
yeah,
Studios, yeah,
of course. Yeah, VS Code, we got an extension, antimony extension. for Visual Studio
John
Code.
was presenting it last year.
right,
so-
at the
done.
Combine, yeah.
Having real problems creating a decent installer for normal users.
NPM.
Well, you have to install Node.js. You have to install.
Oh, I thought it would be just an extension to VS Code. So it would be. one
It
of the
is,
plugins.
but there's
Yeah.
things that, there are Python packages it wants to run,
Yeah.
so,
And we have to make sure that we don't clobber the person's existing Python installation.
yeah.
I recently uninstalled
So
it
you have to create a
because
virtual
it
environment.
was throwing a dialog.
We
in my
do that
face.
by creating a temporary Python environment somewhere else, create the virtual environment from that, and then deleting that. The only way to stop clobbering the user Python. You got to be careful in that. I mean, originally we just used to override people's packages
Mhm.
years ago, a long time ago. And
That's
we
what
got
virtual
some
environments are for.
major complaints about that. So now we just distribute with Windows our own Python environment.
My system's Python.
Alan was telling us just that
untouched.
it's very
Yeah.
dangerous to do.
If you have Python for this, I've had different
Bring
Python,
your,
I've never.
yeah.
bring your Python distribution with you.
Oh, not so much dangerous, it just makes it very difficult
Yes.
for the end user.
I make every
Because-
single.
Well, we've never had any problem. We've
No,
done this
no,
for the
what
last
I'm
10
saying
years.
is, what I'm saying is that with open core, we ship Python 3.7. And before we created a new official release of open core, we had several snapshots, which means that people who wanted to keep up to date with the snapshot, they had to install the new snapshot of open core. And because we have Python within open core, it means that they had to reinstall their own packages that they are interested in.
Oh, yeah, we don't have to do that with this.
So-
No, if they stick with the same Python, whatever is 3.8,
You just,
you
you
just
go into
typically
the
upgrade. Now you can
and
do
it
all
will
new,
open Python.
so it doesn't.
You just in the Python.
It's a complete Python environment. They would have it like.
You don't even.
No.
Yeah.
You go out of a project.
So
directory
that's
to
exactly
new
the
one.
reason now we are working on
You're
LibrePython,
in the
that way they can
Python
have their
now,
own Python
Python.
environment, whether it is 3.8, whatever
exactly.
version, and
Yeah.
they can just do pip install it.
Yeah,
and that's it.
I mean, we have a special Windows one who
You like
uses a normal Windows
modifying some
installer.
bash.
With
yeah,
random triggers and people install. They don't have to do anything, they don't have to know anything about installing pip or anything. They just run the installer and they get, and we provide them with Spider and Jupyter Notebook, whichever one they want to use.
And a variety of packages that go with
And a
Slurry,
variety of
yeah.
packages are already pre-installed.
Yeah, that's also what we do with
Yeah.
open core. We provide some advice, I do things, but
Yeah.
then there are people who want to do some very specific stuff.
Then they pip install their own if they know.
Yeah, they do,
And that's
they
it.
do.
Yeah.
But that's also what I'm saying is that if there is a new version of open core, then they have to reinstall the particular package that they need.
So I suppose that's like if someone like uninstalled Tellurium as their Windows package and then like installed the new one, if they had installed their own packages, they would have to install those packages again.
In that case, what you would do, you pip install.
You pip install Roadrunner and just
rather than
you
reinstall.
instead of reinstalling Windows, you just upgrade everything. Yeah, because I don't think anything. Well, if you wanted a new version of Spider, that might be awkward, but
I like.
that would be. But yeah, other than that,
We have problems with the Mac.
They don't know about each other.
People always have issues sometimes with the Mac because we haven't got this system where we don't interfere with it.
Yes,
We might require a specific numpy.
that's what I reckon.
It'll probably sometimes. So,
They used to.
but I'd like to get a dedicated one for the Mac as well. Linux whether on one. Have to bring that. That we could show, but I mean, we could show this group your interactive modeling environment. The mini one.
Is there a maxi one too?
There is.
Yeah.
I'm not going to show you that. There's still a little too much. And so this is we're gonna try and get a grant with Jan to develop this much further.
You're in the Zoom, right? You could just share.
You want me to share?
Well, ideally.
I think you got
Share,
instant
share.
regression there otherwise.
It's boring now, Lucian necessarily.
What else? I mean, we do actual modeling as well, and we've discovered for optimized parameter fitting, the best combination was Roadrunner with Julia. For performance, we were doing big optimizations, but doing on a single machine, we were taking years and years.
I mean, maybe so last week in the from the Jan Hasselhoff, just in Sweden with the P5 Julia. Was saying something about because everything will be computed symbolically, then we can keep performances for gradient calculations.
So they claim, I'd have to see it to believe it.
Yeah. So this is, I have a brief demo that you know we can Google sites, but so it's embedded in there, and you just load. You can either preload it or load. And
By preload it, you mean you could,
well, what we have right now, if someone like LibreText is using it, and they just specify the model, runtime, step size, and then it pre-populates this, so the user doesn't have to load a SBML model.
Yeah.
So then you can just run it. Now we have this type of mode, and you can adjust your parameters as necessary.
Ooh.
So we can change the step size, so it's not step green. So obviously now it's running slower because it's a lot. You can speed it up within whatever your client, your computer can handle or browser, how much resources it has allocated. So
Is the step like just for visualization?
I know for computation.
Okay.
Then you can adjust it like that.
For the range of values, is that some kind of metadata in your SBML file?
Yeah, well, right now it's default to whatever the SBML model, the initial value is. I just take from 0 to like 10. Eventually, maybe we'll have to have the user specify range it, so you can change. And then if you want to just do straight like a normal run, just go like that and then go. Oh, you can switch it. It runs the whole 20-second run at one fell swoop and then plots it. So we can go like that. And if you want to run it longer, of course, you can run it longer. But whoa, it gets slower. You don't quite get the dynamic, but it still will run. So it takes that long to run. 20,000 points for this particular model. So anyway, so this way they can interact with it. And
Does it display all of the parameters?
oh, this particular case, down here I limited it to 12. If you need to add or change, you just add. So it's like that, you know, or just like top, bottom, 4. By default, it just correct.
And the
Now-
values around those things,
Correct. And like I said, if you want to just like in LibreText, they can specify which parameters they want to show or which species they want to plot, and then it'll use those. It'll limit so that the user can only play with those certain ones. And then like the plot, but right now it is a very simple, just auto scale the y-axis and change them, and then edit plot species if you want.
oh, so you could like display different things. That's what the edit plot species means?
Yes, this particular model only has 2 species.
Oh, you can't display parameters on it?
Display
What's the
parameters.
point?
Well, I mean, if there were
If-
diamond rules or something.
In SBML can have things that aren't species that change value.
Yeah.
Like if I converted into something from CellML, everything would be a parameter.
I don't know what you're doing.
You could
We use it for observables, like, if you have a species and then you want to, when you look at it.
S
you want to
tote
look
or
at
something,
the
yeah.
offset or
Oh, yeah.
scale.
Yeah, you got an assignment that computed some function of the species.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the sum of two species.
Oh, yeah.
We don't do that.
Right now, we don't do it.
No.
it would be relatively easy to look through the parameters and see which were not flagged, which were flagged constant equals false, and give that as an option, not put them on by default, but just put them on the list.
Oh, when you
Yeah.
plot the parameters.
When you're editing, yeah, for things that you're plotting, I probably you don't want to plot anything that is literally constant, but the SPML file will tell you what is constant and what is not constant, and so you could add the non-constant ones to your list, not put them on initially, probably, unless there's no species.
Yeah.
If there were no species in the model, then I would look for the non-constant parameters and plot those. And if right, but you could at least add the non-constant parameters to the list of things you could add.
I mean, the SPML support is basic, right? We don't support everything. Of course.
No.
But checking a flag on the thing is
We don't do
pretty
events.
simple.
ODE ones, ODE rules,
The what?
ODE rules.
Oh, right, because this is a separate
Rate
simulator.
rules.
This is not Roadrunner. This is
No.
actually like a
Rate
simulator
rules,
we
yeah,
wrote.
rate rules.
Excuse me.
Initial state, you have sliders for initial state here.
No, this one does not. You, what's that? That's a good point as far as.
Maybe you can't do that either.
You can do that.
Sliders for initial set would be easy to do.
Yeah.
The what?
Something else. Sliders for the initial state.
Yes.
See no starting point.
Yeah.
Change that.
Right now, we rely on the person, whoever set up the.
Oh, initial state of the species themselves, so the
Yeah,
species
yeah.
could be changed. Yeah. Okay.
It's the initial.
The other thing you can't do, the x-axis will always be time. For example.
Tellurium 228 is on biosimulations.
But Frank, Jan and I
Amazingly,
will
okay.
write the grant this in May,
Amazing.
next week, try to build this up a lot more. I mean, he'll do some spatial work in his end, but of course you have to justify it.
Yeah, we were talking about that, rather than getting that.
Yeah.
Well, we have to justify this from a research point of view, not for teaching, because we're an age. So one idea is you can prototype all your models on this, and then maybe you can push the whole thing to a cluster or something with press of one button. This eating parameter fitting, we might even bring in composite for this as well. You press a button and it goes off and does the parameter estimation of the big cluster. I don't have to worry about
I see.
the mechanics.
Apart from this, in the same.
Yeah.
You'd like somehow flag some parameters and give a range,
Yeah,
then off it goes.
yeah.
So, that was my hacking this week.
Oh yeah, what did you do?
Composite scripting. So I got Composite running on the browser.
Yeah, so.
I mean, still, rudimentary. Obviously, I want to be able to modify parameters and stuff as well. But yeah, I never thought it would actually work. I always thought scripting was like a toy thing. Yes, I knew about Make 2 being running in the browser, but
yeah.
Yeah. So having this week the chance to look at these things, finding them actually working.
I mean, in that case, we could take this. Maybe we could take this as the basis of the grant. This is not fully SPML compliant. We don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
But we can't use Roadrunner.
Huh.
So.
Yeah, you can't compile the machine code on the browser.
That's just
This may be the way to.
Oh, to
Don't
just
look enough
to
about
grab
JavaScript
Composite
to figure out
scripting.
how to
Oh,
stuff, so I
if you
can
wanted to get a
figure it
full
out,
thing.
and then that-
Yeah.
We have
That's
everything.
interesting. Yeah.
That's the way to do it. Because I think
Yeah,
we can be
it's-
pretty good with
it's
UIs,
just very
Yeah.
which is really what will sell. I think it's good. Yeah, we might want access to that in script and Composite.
Well, I mean, it's right now, it's there, right?
It's like, there you go.
Right there, just there.
It's on GitHub.
Yeah.
But
Yay.
unfortunately, it doesn't I mean, I basically have just one function exported right now. Take this model and simulate it and give me the simulation results.
For the graph, we can just flesh it all out.
So actually, I mean, when you call virtual SBML model to some executable code, what do you do then?
I mean, we have just in time compilation with native JIT, but I have to say them for the wasm file.
So what
So
do
this
you
is
do?
just interpreting the.
Oh, you do it. Okay.
Yeah, that'll be that's what we do in one as
Oh,
well.
that's what you do also.
Yeah.
Okay,
but I
that
mean-
was my issue because
Yeah,
that was kind of a.
It's
Mhm.
fast though. You can see it's fast.
I mean, depending on the solver that you select. I mean, the nice thing is this works with all the different solvers. So we do stochastic stuffs as well. Radar 5 for the hybrid methods that do like mix between stochastic and.
Yeah, this is the way to do it. You don't have to write an SPML interpret the whole of the SPML spec.
Like it should do the events and then we can just like.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, exactly. How big is the file?
This one is tiny.
Apache one is tiny. What is tiny these days?
What does tiny mean?
100
Yeah.
megabytes. Maybe 4 megabytes.
Yeah.
No, it's not bad.
About 14.
Hold on, what is that? Hold on.
1.4
1.4 meg?
30.
Minus
How much?
14 megabytes.
14.
13.
That's not so bad. These days.
I mean, the data file, it was just at the beginning, I was trying the local file system thing, and probably you need to preload the data files, but this was just some example models. Worked out fine to just upload them in.
Now in this grant, then should we get you guys involved? Do this.
Yeah, probably easier with Pedro's side.
We'll take care of the UI. You're better at that than anybody else. Maybe you could take care of the
The exposing the right functions and stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
Conversions,
I
whatever.
mean, that's you probably knows best about the finding stuff. I shouldn't have figured that one out. Instead, I was just manually creating new C++ functions to expose later on as a C API, just like you did it.
Oh, okay.
yeah. I'll talk to Jan and maybe it's maybe a three-way.
Yeah,
It's pretty easy to write good stuff.
apparently, yeah.
Yeah.
We should go.
It's amazing it works.
So yeah, this was just
I mean, we're basically doing the same thing with us. We're basically going from Object Pascal to Rust.
the functions I
They were not impressed.
They were impressed.
You know,
They were like, wow.
you know, really, I mean, it's a very high product. It's a very high productivity language. It's much faster. It's much easier to use.
Well, especially they told us you have a secret way from
Yeah, compilation is like that.
you have a secret way of from Delphi to JavaScript.
Yeah.
GUI.
Right.
GUI, no.
Well,
Oh,
Yeah.
actually, no, there is. Sorry, you're right. There is.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can visually design the
The prices are still horrendous for them.
Yeah, I know.
well, the Delphi has the
They released.
community
They
edition.
just
which I
released the new
use.
community edition. Yes.
But we still, for the TMS web core, which does the converting to JavaScript,
Yeah.
that's a couple $100 a
That's
year.
very much.
Hmm.
In terms of productivity, it beats anything I know.
MSF is okay with paying that.
Who?
Right, it's easy.
Yeah, I think I just put the bill in.
A couple hundred a year is like, yeah, that's that they would pay that with us. Yeah.
We checked earlier. 1,200 petrol plus 500 for one.
Oh, yeah.
For the basic prices.
Oh, for the full one?
Do you
Yeah,
That's the basic one.
I have a full one, yeah.
No, not the full one. The
No, the
personal
community one is free.
Yeah.
as of today. or
As of, yeah.
Well, it wasn't on your page that community manager.
Yeah, I just.
Like, wait, what?
Yeah, they had a community one from the previous version for the last few years, and they were just complaining why aren't you releasing the new version? They just released it yesterday. I think.
Oh, they did, okay.
11.3
With fireman.
with fireman. Yeah, with all that. Yeah.
Well, there's some data binding
Yeah.
classes or
Missing, I
whatever
think. Yeah.
that they don't include.
Yeah.
But
I mean, if there was a better UI tooling system, I would use it. But there never has been.
Rainforest was great, but
Yeah, I mean, WinForms is modeled on the duck group.
it was the
UI
same guy,
system.
yes.
The same guy.
Okay, then.
This is back from Forum.
Yeah.
Okay. Forum was two.
Oh, the C++ compiler.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. But I think this is could be a good direction to go in then three-way. We just need to make a case for the science for the researcher. Why would a researcher want this? Yes, it's fun
Well,
and
for us, it
cool.
would be, if there was like some GUI around it, I mean, just imagine people not installing your stuff for tutorials, just using their websites.
That's true. Tutorials would be good. Yeah, teaching.
Like kids these days, they just have their iPads.
Teaching.
They have to work on their iPads as well.
Yeah.
Just a browser. So yeah.
there's a few little issues, I guess. Those little button things you gotta pay attention to on the iPad. It doesn't quite.
Oh yeah,
As
there's slight
opposed to a
differences. Yeah.
mouse. Well, you know, like, and also the right click menu. Drop on the iPad.
It's like a long click versus the right click or something, or the.
Most UI design thing is.
I mean, maybe we can have some credibility stuff to it.
Yeah.
But not only is that we just use Kwargs at the back end.
Yeah, for simulator.
On top, then we've got a whole series of other services. Checking credibility checks and translators to different formats.
Translators,
MATLAB.
validity.
Like in the past, we were using all everything in the backend side, like Shiny for
Yeah, I
our,
saw that, yeah.
presenting models. But if it was just running the browser and small enough models,
I mean, we
That
would
would make
we'd
nice
use a
sense.
different interface from Kwargs.
yeah, obviously. I mean, we won't use that interface. It was just
Yeah.
I just globally text box together with stuff.
Yeah, like, okay.
I mean, there's people that know their JavaScript stuff way better.
Yeah, I think if we could make a complete environment. Might work.
And the NSF might be interested in also in like, or
Well, people-
developing countries or like making these things available to or to like a researcher out in the field or
That's what
something.
I'm
or-
saying, they don't-
Well, the
Yeah.
reachers in the field would have the issue with the 40 megabyte download. You know,
Potentially, yeah. Yeah,
I don't know, in a few years, that's probably gonna.
yeah, those sorts of things are the.
I mean, unless you're in West Virginia.
I mean,
it's
you
a problem.
could look into distributing it to app stores, maybe the button stuff.
I bet Africa has better internet access than West Virginia.
The entire continent, anywhere you go.
They do all their money. They bypass landlines. Went straight to mobile phone.
Yeah, so they don't have the infrastructure for the.
But global warming is-
That was the plan all along.
that wasn't China.
Oh, this sounds good. Okay, I think we can do something here then. Okay, I gotta write this up in like 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
There's a particular thing you're thinking about?
Yeah, well, come June, everything can very good.
Oh, you you just need to do it before June.
Not a specific target for that.
I think it was June. I think it was a June target. It's just gonna be a normal R1. Jan was suggesting another P41. I thought, write it up within a month.
Are you out of your mind?
Well, you have the summer free, right? So.
Yeah. Filling up already. Technically, I'm not supposed to write grants in the summer.
Oh.
Because you're not supposed to use federal grants to write grants.
Andrew has a similar problem. Not allowed to do. Not used to doing any other work. But his grant work. But not every grant, there's no time to do that.
They told me not to do grants, so I said, I'm doing it.
What?
I'm not doing it, but
Oh, yeah.
I said, okay,
Like
why
that.
some of you are trying to do some ed.
Yeah, it's actually, I think it's illegal for them to be to write grants. on the grant one. So if I say I'm going to write a grant this summer, the department will give me
Separately, just to do that.
But your
Yeah.
time, have they buy it?
Time, yeah.
time.
What do you take for that once?
A couple of weeks worth. in my- couple of weeks, try to- Oh, no, it's quite a bit. 2 weeks out of 52. 4%. Yes, I guess it's not. Yeah, right. No, we were 64 weeks.
At least that's what we bill for.
We still find it 46 weeks.
Yeah.
Look at the, API.
Yes. Or here. We probably don't need to do that on Zoom, but like, oh. Um.
We're looking at, oh, this is Frank. No, our demystified.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the reasons it's so large is because I got it ages ago and just got tons of everything.
Does university buy you?
I got this when I was a contractor for Caltech, so I got that on that money.
What was it?
I'm trying to think. It may be 8 years or something. I don't know. Yeah.
My computers don't last it long.
Yeah. It's this big paperweight of a thing, but
I had a big one. I had a big one of those really mess Dell Precisions.
yeah.
Died eventually.
Yeah, that's the thing that is much better.
Yeah, just zoom in some. So this is what the
Yeah, I can't understand.
yeah, this is a CellML API thing. But let's see here.
What are you trying to do? Probably be
So I'm trying to interpret in general. I have to go both ways. I have to interpret a CellML model. I have to break it down into its components, translate each thing into yeah, the components are your submodules basically. Translate them into antimony objects, which are also modules and have variables in them.
Are you sharing this?
I'm not. Do you want me to?
Well, would make it easier to understand what you're talking about.
If you want to know what I'm talking about, that's fine. All right, here, I'm going to stop recording because we don't need to do that. Thank you everyone for coming to the thing. Click.